next. They hail from New Hampshire, but they could be anywhere dressed in cute clothes. If they had to share a tombstone, it would read, "Curiosity killed these cats." Your hosts, Lisa and Robin on the mic.
Welcome back to another episode of Lisa and Robin on the mic. You are listening on WSMN 1590 AM, 95.3 FM. You can watch, stream, and listen on WSMN.live as well as YouTube. And we are always up on Spotify. We are your happiest 2 hours on a Thursday that you have throughout your week. I think these are the happiest two. They're my happiest two.
My happiest too.
So don't steal that joy.
Don't steal it.
So we wanted to talk also about how to protect our joy from the joy robbers, from the thieves.
Well, so I wrote.
So you were going to tell a story.
I will.
Okay.
So things that steal your joy, negative emotions, spiritual. So negative emotions, angerness, bitterness, resentments, they can significantly impact your emotional state. Spiritual neglect, it doesn't actually even mean your separation with God, but you could be, nature, getting back into something that's bringing you peace, bringing you joy. So spiritual doesn't always necessarily have to be God,
Mm-hmm.
a higher power, or something that you meditating, or being out in nature, listening to music, whatever you do to find that kind of calm, awe, and connection. Like sometimes my daughter was having a rough day yesterday at class, and I was like, well, she's like, I just been in bed, she didn't feel that good. She ate something at lunch too, and then she's like, that only compounded it. So, and I said, what if you took and just walked down to the beach, sometimes just sitting in the sand and just staring at the water, and the power of the ocean is some kind of, it just has a healing. So healing. Perfectionism. Striving for unobtainable perfection can create pressure and anxiety, hindering our ability to experience joy in the present. Self-care deficit. So a lot of times that can steal our peace if we're not taking time to relax, hobbies, being active, enjoyment, if we're not seeking those things out. Focus on others. While caring for others is important, neglecting our own needs and well-being can lead to a burnout and a loss of joy. Taken care of.
Doubt. I think doubt and fear
Yeah.
are the two that come from outside of ourselves. But when someone drops off doubt or fear,
Yeah.
like you're so excited about running a marathon. I'm going to run a marathon this year because I'm trying to talk about these are wholesome. This is when you're trying to get your life organized, or you're trying to do something that matters to you but may not make sense to everybody else.
Yes.
Why do you want to run a marathon? Blah, blah, blah. But when you're excited about someone, and then someone comes and goes, ugh, are you really going to have enough time to train? Or, ugh, what are you going to get injured?
Right.
That's stealing their joy. If they're excited about doing something, you know what? There's a lot of hard work that comes after that.
That's putting their negative emotions onto you. And that's where I felt like you're not supportive. And in looking back, I don't feel like my parents didn't intentionally weren't supporting me.
Yeah, it's never intentional.
They want to be protected. And it was like, when my daughter moved to the city, and, my mom came up to visit, and she hasn't been to Boston very often, but in sitting there, and she's like, what she does know of Boston, she's like, oh no, I don't, in the city and riding the T and all of the stuff. And so we're sitting at lunch, and she's like, you should do this, and you should carry this, and you should do this. And I'm like, she has one of those electric Jolt pens that she carries with her, and she carries her mace, and she's very conscious. She always has her phone ready. She's not texting it. Like, she has sent us so many weird videos from her tea ride.
Yeah.
and a lot of times she'll call me, or she'll call a friend of hers, so she's actively talking and speaking to someone while some weird crazy stuff is going down. But I could just see, my mom was just trying to be, this is my granddaughter, and I want her to be safe, and I want her to be. And I finally was like, hey, Mom, she gets, I said, that's enough for now, or something. I tried to say it in a very gentle way, but she's already made the decision. We're already doing this, and we don't need you filling her with fear and anxiety. That's not hers. we have armed her and battled her and got her ready for battle.
Yeah.
And that's how I see it, like preparing somebody. You should never be the one person to say that you can't run a marathon or you can't do something.
And the
that's
reason why I
not
bring
yours.
that up,
It's not yours to make.
the reason why I bring that up is this was years ago, I had started running. And so people at work would be like, did I see you running this morning? You're going to blow out your knees. But I'm like,
know.
no one asked you for your advice. This has nothing to do with you. Like, but it's so interesting how we feel like we have to drop our opinion off, even if the opinion is a steaming pile of dung.
Right.
Why do I need that here?
But even if it's a good one, yes, and of course we want good ones, but really,
And someone would say, oh, that I need to toughen up and I need thicker skin and who cares what other people says. And to some degree, yes. But don't you think when people are trying new things or they're trying stuff on that they don't have doubts? Do they
Right.
need you always watering the doubts for them?
right.
Don't
right.
you? I mean,
You don't think they've gone through their own list of doubts and their own insecurities and their own challenges about getting to that point where
Yes.
actually speaking it. I'm just now have the courage to speak it out loud, and you're
And-
gonna poo-poo on somebody's parade.
and there is a kind of an sort of a wave to say keep stuff to yourself
Yes.
because
Well,
people
they say, opinions are like a-holes.
yeah, we all have them.
I already
And
told.
they're all ugly.
I've told my kids, like people are always going to give you advice and people are always going to give you their opinions. It was most prevalent when you have newborns or when you're pregnant. You shouldn't do this and you shouldn't do that and you shouldn't do this and you better do this and you better do that. And like, not to even mention all the books out there. And it's so overwhelming. Like you think, okay, so we had sex. Now we're pregnant. We're going to have a baby. It still doesn't dawn on you how much your life is going to change. It just doesn't. But everybody's going to give you advice all the time. And so what made me realize that is like, I grinned and bared. I listened. But at the end of the day, I'm going to do my own thing. Like that makes sense. So I'll pick that up. But if that one doesn't make sense, it does hurt a little bit. Some of them when people are coming at you like, well, let me just do it. I know how to do better. And you need to do this or you need to do that and blah, 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 blah.
Why are you doing that?
You should do this. Are you sure? Like, I had a tiff with my mom. Like she had come up to visit. It was at Christmas, and having preemies, and they were just now getting to the point where we could let them go until they were hungry because we were feeding them every 2 hours. Then she had gained a little more weight, so now she was at 4 hours, so she could go no more than 4 hours without eating. So I had a 2 hour window that we could kind of just let her start listening to her body.
Mm-hmm.
And so she actually had some esophageal reflux because her esophagus hadn't fully developed. So we had her bed tilted up. We had all this stuff. I was nursing. I actually added some of that special formula into her breast milk to mix that in. We've done all these things. So we're sitting at dinner. Kayla wakes up and she's crying. And my husband had said, my mom's like, you need to go get her. I'm like, no, we're just going to let her, we're going to let her cry for a little bit longer. Well, it was irritating my mom so bad. Like just unsettled, but it also says, it is known a baby crying raises people's blood pressure like by 40%.
Yeah. I can't stand
it's
a baby
not even
crying.
you have and not even have to be used. So I understand that it was frustrating to her and she's feeling like I just want to help out. She knows. So it didn't come from a place of malice, but he just said, no, we're going to let her cry it out for a little bit longer. And it went on for maybe a minute and she was starting to settle. But at that point, my mom was like, I'm just going to go get her. And I'm like, that was really hard. Like, I'm a new mom. I'm trying to figure it out. I need you to support me. And he got upset too. Like, so it caused a little bit of a rift, but at the end, she apologized and I'm like, hey, we're just all trying to figure it out. Let's be gentle with each other because we truly do love each other.
Right.
And she was like, you're right. I'm so sorry. Like, I backed off.
So that's a really good point. When you love someone and they're telling you something, how can you be more gentle while still providing a voice to your worry or your fear or your doubt? Because we are so the people in our lives hopefully are the people we love, and we've gotten rid
Right.
of the other ones.
Right.
Or if you haven't done that, get rid of them as soon as possible.
Yes. Eliminate negative people.
But a lot of times our family is negative.
Yeah, and it's hard to.
You
it's-
know, I think of, I mean, when I was learning to fly, I mean, nobody was thrilled I was learning to fly. They didn't even want me to ride my bike on the street. I was 20 years old.
It's people.
I had
putting-
multiple jobs. I was out in a car at night, at midnight. You know, like I was doing all these things.
Right.
And I remember my mother had been gone for a couple of years. And then she showed back up. And she was saying, well, I don't like this and I don't like that. And I was like, I don't know where you've been for 4 years, but a little late to join the party now that you don't like that I'm out
Right.
at 2 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
My second job gets out at midnight. Like
Right.
I'm going to be out. And
Yeah.
and thanks for showing up on the scene 4 years later. I don't know where you've been,
Right.
but I didn't tolerate a
Right.
parent who just shirked all of their parental input.
Yeah, and now I want to show you. Now,
And now
I'm
that you're an
gonna-
adult and you figured it all out, and
Right.
it's 4 years later, you've graduated college, you have a permanent job, and you're okay. Now I'm going to start throwing input.
and you've been living on your own
And you've
for
been
a
living
hot
on your-
minute. Like,
And so I think,
don't forget to lock your door at night.
right, when I think back to that time period, I remember feeling like nobody gets me
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
all the people who loved me could not see my vision at
Yeah.
all. And I learned
see you.
then, like, they don't really know the first thing about me.
Right. I'm a wild animal. You try to cage this beast.
I don't even
Actually, that's how I felt. I felt like I'm not a wild animal, but I felt like just kind of like, well, Tinkerbell, like a wild fairy.
Mm-hmm.
My energy was like, I
I
want
was
to do
so-
this. I want to do that. I want to do this. I want to do this. I want to explore this. I want to figure this out.
And if you're not young and idealistic, you know, I think it's always interesting when people talk politically about how young people are idealistic. And it's like, well, if you're not idealistic at 21, you are certainly not going to be at 41.
Right.
Because life
Right.
certainly beats that out of you. Like, you know, and one of the things my spouse says sometimes is like, it's amazing you still have this ideology of like, there's still something like that hasn't been beat out of
Well,
you
to
yet.
me, like that, my whole life is like, what if? What if? I would rather be like, what if and what's next?
So it's
So we
really
get
interesting when
stuck.
you said it's not meant to be, when you were doing your story about coming up from the
Mhm.
Cape, and you said, oh, well, it must not meant to be. It wasn't
Mhm.
meant to be. I don't have that. I would have, if that was me at the time, I would have tried to, I wouldn't have been around 2 weeks later because I would have found another nanny thing because in my head
Yeah.
I had wanted it
Yeah.
and I was now going to scratch and claw and kind of scrape my way to it.
Well, there was a boy attached to the other end of that too.
Yeah.
Like, so
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know,
No, but I understand that. But there's a piece of me that you were like, oh, it wasn't meant to be. And I have a lot of people in my life over the years who are like, well, it's just not meant to be. And I'm like, I don't know if I believe that.
yeah, I might force that door open
I'm pretty
one more time.
much going to open that door anyways.
Well, I mean, I was disappointed. I was really
Yeah.
disappointed, but I was also, I had to.
But I loved how you surrendered and it happened for you anyways.
Yes.
Where me, it would have been like, well, if you just waited 2 weeks, you would have got it. Why
Well,
did you have to like kill yourself for 2
But
weeks?
I'm in my 50s now and can look back. It didn't feel like that at the time.
Yeah.
But I mean, in some ways, it did feel like that, just because I had to make that decision based upon, can I do this? Can I give? I had to make sure I was doing it for the right reasons, because if this relationship with this boy didn't work out, would I still be able to be dedicated to these people and give my word and be committed? And so when it didn't happen, I was like, okay. So, I mean, I was bummed because I was like, well, I want I want him. That's my future husband. I want him.
Right.
So I did have to let it go. But looking back, I think that I've been in that alignment,
Mm-hmm.
or that listening to your body, or listening to your
Mhm.
gut, or I don't know, trusting a process. And I'm still trying to figure out what the right words were. But this is actually a good time to lead into it. So I kind of was more into that energy long before I even realized it. I have some very good friends of mine that were married for 25 years. She met him, and he was wealthy and traveled the world and just so sophisticated, far beyond what we grew up knowing. And so they started traveling, and they were, they would always have a glass of wine. It was always paired with the right meal. And it was like, I was always making cocktails. And so we never had an experience of alcoholism ever. And it wasn't until after they were married that she realized, because they're still dating and they're doing, there's always alcohol around, and there's always a party and everything going around. But it wasn't until after they were married that she realized that this is a big issue. Like, it's a dependency. And they went for years, and, they would have horrible fights. They would have, there was some physical, but there was a lot of angry aggression over little things, like dropping something on the floor. Like, he was bringing a tray of like hamburgers in, and he dropped it, and just the screaming and the anger that went with that was just, it's hard. It was hard to be a part of it and listening. And she would call me, and she would say, I don't know what to do. I'm going to leave, and I need to get to this and do this. And I'm like, well, I think you should leave if that's what your gut is telling you to do. And then she, but we have this, and we've built this, and we built this. And like, but if you stay, you know that you cannot be resentful, because now you are making the choice to stay. If nothing about him ever changes, you can't, because now you are at that awareness. And I didn't even know, but I said that to her years ago, and I was in my early 20s, and I just said, if you stay, you can't be resentful, because you have to let that go. Because I watched their relationship deteriorate.
And then it changed her?
I watched her nitpick at him, nag. It was just angry. It was sarcastic comments and all of that stuff. And I'm like, why would you want to live in that? Why would you want to stay? What's the benefit? What's the beauty of it? If you're going to stay, you can't be resentful. You have to let all that other stuff go. No name calling. None of that, because now he's already stealing his own joy, and now you're allowing it to steal yours as well.
Yeah, it's altering who you are as a person.
Well, and he would say, and she would say, well, if he would just cut down, or if he would just go to AA, if he would just do this, or if he would just do that, it would make, but would it make you happier? Like, how many times do we get into relationships and they're like, well, if he just stopped drinking, if he stopped smoking cigars in the house, then I would be happier. Well, then they make these changes, and they're not. They make these changes, they stop drinking, but then you're still resentful, or you're still, we try to micromanage someone else because the way it bumps into our comfort zone.
Yeah, yeah. So I was thinking, a lot of people go into relationships to change people.
Yes.
And what I think is really interesting is, if you're with someone, you're attracted to someone, you fall in love, and then you're okay, but you need to be more like me.
Yes.
I don't understand that, because you were attracted to that person for what's the same about you, right? That you have connection.
Right.
But then you also were attracted.
Yes.
And when you're constantly telling someone to be more like, in an argument, be more like me, you're you.
Right. If you just do these things like I do it, then we'll both be happier.
And it's like, no, you'll be happier, so you think.
Right.
I am now outside of, because I think of it this way. Perfect example. I'm letting you drive, but I'm telling you how to drive from the passenger seat.
Yes.
You know what? If you wanted to drive, you could drive.
Yes.
And this goes for every relationship, a parent relationship, hey,
yes.
you drive. And then the minute you're doing this, you're in that lane. Shut up.
Right.
I'm driving. If you wanted to drive, you should drive.
Right.
When I'm the pilot of this vessel,
right.
I am driving, unless I'm literally killing us.
Yes.
Right? I don't need to hear, get in that lane, do that, put your directional on, because your brain forming a thought, hitting your mouth, hitting my ears, up to my brain, into an action, is a delay that now it doesn't make sense. Again, Not if I'm crashing into the tree, obviously, or if I'm breaking the red light, but the rest of the, or maybe I know I'm breaking the red light. Maybe I know that that light's on a pause, or I've already looked that they're, like, you just mind your business.
We're driving down to Virginia one time, and it's late at night, and I'm driving. And because usually, I get to drive a couple of hours. Actually, I don't really mind not driving, but sometimes for a change of scenery. Anyway, we're driving. He falls asleep, and I go to change lanes. And the sense he's asleep, eyes are closed, he jumps out of and grabs the steering wheel, like goes to grab the steering wheel because he thought I was going into the far
Guardrail.
lane. Yeah. But there's so many times that people want to give you their advice. And the truth of the matter is, you are you. You're responsible for you. In the way that you show up in your relationships is you should be a blessing. So I wrote down, what if we could wake up every morning and our main priority was to create a loving space for yourself and the people around you? Not try to change them, but try to create that perfect space. Like, what brings you we stop being
But then you go to back to that addiction piece, right? Because I grew up with an addict, right? It altered our entire family dynamic. Right? Because we're all catering in a different way to addiction. And some people cater to it from the protective space of, well, at least let her do drugs here because we know where she is.
Right.
We don't want her out there doing them. And it's like, okay, that was not what I wanted to witness. I don't want to witness someone killing themselves.
Right.
I am witnessing a suicide, a very slow suicide, and I'm helpless to do anything about it. I would rather it be away.
Right.
I don't feel safer because I'm watching her do it. But that doesn't mean now this person, same addiction in the middle, two people handling it in very different ways. But what you
realize, but a lot of times people say, well, you can't do it. You're not doing anything about it. You can't do anything about it either.
Anyways.
So whether you're fussing at somebody or yelling at them all day to do it, they're not going to do it. And the truth of the matter is, what I've been watching you do is keep believing. The confidence in you is growing. I think it's healing traumas in you to realize that it's not mine.
Yes.
That's not mine. I can't. It hurts me. It makes me sad that you're making this choice, but you're not allowing it to no longer steal your joy, your peace.
And so that's how you. And
that's yesterday.
Yeah, but so say for the person who is living with a person and they're like, this person's drinking is out of control, or this person's gambling is out of control, or this person's something is out of control. You're tied to them through, this is my kid, this is my spouse, this is my parent, this is my best friend. How, it's like there's no right way to do it, right? Because everyone is their own thing, but
either like I said with our friend, you either have to, if you choose to stay in that relationship, then you've got to let go of those resentments. A lot of times was what there's a fear of being with. So they ended up divorcing. Then they were into she was into another relationship, but micromanaging the next relationship.
Yes.
You've had too much. If you just don't do this, you don't do that. See, we're giving our joy away. So as much as we're trying to control someone else.
And she's bringing a past relationship into her current relationship.
Yes. So she's not so you're not being present. You're not doing the things that you need to do to bring joy to the relationship. So I think we both have a responsibility. We do it when we start dating and when we're attracted to somebody. We want to make that person smile. We do things to make them feel good because guess what? It's reciprocity. And if we start focusing on things that make me feel good and focusing on things that, if I start focusing on loving on you, things that make you feel good, we're letting all of that other stuff go because it's really not, you're bringing old trauma in the fact that you keep complaining about, well, if they just did this, if he just stopped drinking or if he just stopped gambling, then we could have a great relationship. No, because if you don't let any of that go, I feel like I'm saying it wrong. you're harboring resentments and you're trying to micromanage and control someone else. You got to fix you first. You have to fix you first before you can help somebody else.
And you never control another person.
Right.
You can only control your reaction to that other person, because that person can never be controlled. The person, that's the heartbreaking thing of when you're watching someone suffer with addiction, is you love them and you wish that their love for you was enough to make them stop.
Yes.
But it's the love for themselves that they've lost.
Yes.
It's and I think that's where there's a lot of, how do I untangle myself from this and let them be, and love them for who they are and what they're doing in the way that I can, to protect myself.
I think letting people be themselves.
But how do you, when you have a kid with a drug addiction, if all of a sudden one of your kids came to you with a drug addiction, you're not going to just let them be themselves.
No, but I can't control them and be bitter and angry and resentful and, give ultimatums, and I can't control them. I would do my best to get them in
treatment,
in treatment.
Yep. And I think one of the, going back to like the relationship with the alcoholic, okay, you divorce this first person because there's obviously this issue that this is ruining my relationship with you.
But so now if she's going to micromanage this other person in this relationship, and she's going to bring those fear and anxiety, and so now she's into condemning, criticizing, complaining, she's bringing fear and anxiety. And when she's met with that friction, so now she's introduced to a new person with that it doesn't have an alcohol problem, but because you have an issue with it, now you try to control it and micromanage it. That is your bumper. That is the tap on the forehead from the universe to say, you got crap in there that you've got to deal with, because you're putting that fear and anxiety, and we actually, by doing it, we create more of that addiction in other people.
Right. Because an addict, I heard someone say this the other day, and I'm like, that's kind of fascinating. Addiction isn't made without a village.
Yes.
And I thought that was really interesting, because when I'll use this other example for a moment. Okay, leave the person, right? You have a new relationship. And this person's sober. You're like, I realized that the last 3 relationships I had, they had alcohol problems. I'm actually with someone who's sober. But now their sobriety bothers me, because I still want to go out and have a good time and drink.
Yeah.
And now I'm uncomfortable with them being sober, with me being drunk. That is a huge thing that nobody talks about.
Yeah, that's control. That's control. And the reason why you're trying to control it is because you have not let go of whether you grew up in an alcoholic home or whatever. Then if it's that important to you, then you need to remove yourself from that environment, instead of like saying, hey, I want you to come hang out and party with me, and I want you to be in your party mode, but just no alcohol. Like, you're setting all these boundaries. Okay, we can be together and we can have a good time together if the box is this big. If we build it, you've got a 4-foot space to walk into. You got to do this, and I need you to eat here. Don't have any, but I want you to bring your fun.
Yeah.
I want you to be the girl that's dancing on the table, but no alcohol.
Right.
I want you to be the one that wants to hang out in, rock music at 3 a.m. with me, but, bring that person, but, don't do it.
Right.
Don't do
or
it.
When they say, but have 2 drinks. Well, this person's sober because they can't have 2 drinks.
Right.
This person's sober because one drink turns into 2 drinks, turns into 10 drinks.
Yes.
So for them, it's easier for them to have 0 drinks than to try to manage the drinking. But now that's also a problem, because you want them, and it gets back to trying to make, if you are looking out in the world for people who are only exactly like you, you're going to live a very boring life.
That is true.
Because let me tell you, none of us are perfect. And you think you're, the bee's knees.
Well,
and you probably are.
We try to understand. We try to...
You probably are the bee's knees, but you don't only want bee's knees.
Right.
You want butterflies and hummingbirds.
Yes.
And you need you need an ecosystem that is different than you, because just you have you. That's boring.
Right.
And when I find that people say that a lot, do this like me. Do this like me.
Right.
I get it, but I'm not you.
Right.
That person is not them.
It was like bowling. It was like bowling. It's a great reminder because
we're talking relationships, not like fighter pilot stuff.
Yes.
Do
yes,
this
yes,
like
yes.
me. Yeah,
yes,
you're a fighter
yeah.
pilot. I'm
yes,
2
we're
inches
talking
off
about
your
relationships. We're talking about real stuff. Yes, yeah.
Drive the bus like me. Yeah, don't drive it into the other lane.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're talking more the soft stuff
Yes.
than hard skills.
Yes.
Because you do have to drive the jet like this if you're going to be 2 inches from my wing.
So I knew it just so happened, it just happened, it's kind of a joke now, but, Chris would get up there and none of us bowled. Our son didn't even want to bowl when he was like, hey, I signed us up for the bowling league. He's like, what?
The least fun.
He's like, what bowling? Whatever. He's
Is
like,
this 1945?
yes. Then he absolutely crushed it and killed it. Had the best time ever. But I'm not that coordinated. I don't like to when we go on vacation and Chris is like, hey, let's take our coffee and walk on the beach. And I'm like, no, I want to take my coffee and sit on the beach. I can't walk and drink something warm at the same time. It takes away my whole purpose of doing coffee in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
Coffee is supposed to be grounding for me. It's the warm, slow wake up, not the, all right, let's go. And he would let's get our coffee and we'll just go and drive. So a lot of times he'll put music on and he rolls the windows down and we're just driving on the Cape and we're just exploring. And I'm like, I've done it a few times, but I'm like, just kind of removes my
flow.
Totally forgot why I was saying. Oh, so bowling. Back to bowling. That's my ADD. I had 3 different men from 3 different teams come up. I had literally one guy walking me to the line, showing me how to do it and how to release. And I'm just saying, I didn't change it. I tried to. I tried to incorporate all the advice that was given to me, but what happened is there's so much chatter now. I've got Chris's advice, I got Jonah's advice, I got Bob's advice, I've got all this advice about how I should do it,
and you're not
of
in there.
listening to. Wait, so I just was like, what do I have? Please give me unsolicited advice written on my forehead. I was kind of getting mad, but it took me a lot. It took me a while to get back into all right, just shut out the rest of the world and you do you. Just do you. And so we won it, and I won the first game for us that put us in first place.
Mm-hmm.
I came in with high numbers. He bowled terrible, but it was the 8 points that separated us to nobody else could go after that.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I did that. And I walked to the line and I rolled my ball the way I rolled my ball.
Mm-hmm.
And after this season, not one peep about how I should bowl.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, thank you. But do you realize even being able to just watch how other people, my family is a good way if they can actually stop and see how much advice people actually give me.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, do you think, I don't think you need to fix me. I don't feel like I'm broken.
Right. And I'm trying to think, I think we like sharing that we know something.
Yes.
So I'm trying to pass everyone's advice through that first filter.
Yes.
Don't get angry, because it was unsolicited. Don't get angry. They're so excited to share that avocados have fat in them. They're so excited for that. They're so excited that they've learned something.
Yes.
And they get to share that.
It's that energy, he's like, who, they're attracted to the energy and they don't even know why. And then you got men up there fumbling, telling you how to bowl, because he said, I think they just want to be close to the energy. And I was like, well, I didn't think about it like that.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great first pass of but I heard this.
I know that they want to be helpful, but they don't realize what it actually does internally to someone else. Now it's created all this chaos.
I think they do, because I think they would never allow it to be done to them.
Yes. Yes.
I can't think of how many times I'm this way with shooting. The more someone is micromanaging down and the more I hear someone else's voice, the worse I shoot. I need to actually not hear any voices. I need to feel.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if I get into a lot of things that require a physicality to them, I got to feel it.
Yeah.
I mean, even driving a car, I do better if I don't think.
Yes.
I have to feel.
Yes.
Like the vehicle has to be an extension of me. The tires are an extension of my arms.
Yeah.
You know, that's the best way for me to do stuff that requires some kind of physicality to it, because I need not to be in my head.
Yes. That's what we're like. That's part of the thing I love about golf. And a lot of times I will walk to the tee box because the women's tees are usually a little bit further. And definitely at the Shattuck, there's a little bit of separation. So it gives me time to walk. And so by the time, if I can get myself ready and tee off while they're putting their clubs back, it gives me that space to do my swing. Because there's so many times that I'm getting ready to take the club back like this. So we have a ritual. Like when you're getting ready to shoot, you're lining up the target, you're controlling your breath, you're slowing it down. So you have your own process. So when I am dressing the ball, I have my own process. So when I'm getting ready to take this club away from the ball and somebody says, you need to move your foot a little bit forward, it totally screws me up. So I'm like, what I need to do is like, or don't swing too hard, or just do a 3/4 swing, or do you see where your target is? Like, I know you're trying to help, but you just undid the last 5 minutes of everything that I was trying to feel my shot and be a part of the game. And that's what golf teaches you, is you've got to be out of your head.
Maybe that's why I'm so terrible at golf.
And I said to Chris, I said to the boys the other day, what I've started doing is, don't allow, and it's kind of like life, don't allow, say you hit a bad tee shot. It didn't go where it was. That's behind you. You have to look at each play. So what is my best approach? What is the best way to handle this? Keeps you in the present, but it's also you're letting go of, God, I just duffed the ball off the tee and you're doing this and you're trying to all focus on it. No. What is my next best shot? That's the thing that you should be walking to that ball. It's not about where it landed. It's where is my next best shot.
Mm-hmm.
We had a little, there's a beautiful par 5, and the green is kind of up on a hill, and it's all sloped towards the water. So you're kind of walking on an angle. I had a chip shot that landed just off of the green up on the side of the hill. Chris says, are you going to chip that? And I'm like, no, I actually feel better with my putter. It went in 35 feet from the deep fringe. Like anybody knows what that is. But I was like, wow. That was probably the best shot I've ever taken in my life. Like, I mean, I've sunk some long putts, but just to be able in that deep fringe, and also, but I was like, man, it's so freeing when you are just allowed to be you. And people stop putting their opinions, their fears, their worries. Even though it's coming from a good place, we should always check ourselves. Mm-hmm. That's why I said, what if we could wake up every morning and set an intention that what am I going to do today to create a loving environment? And we all get to be reciprocating of it. Like, not only are you in a loving environment, but the energy in loving space that you've created, it's going to be felt by other people. It's just like the guys at bowling. When Chris is like, they're attracted to your energy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think there's times when we need to be coached.
Yes.
Definitely.
Yes.
But it's usually solicited by the person wanting to be coached. They're asking for advice, or they're asking for it. Unsolicited has a different...
Yes.
Bumps up against a different resistance. Even coachable. Some people are not coachable.
Yes.
They will not, and I think that must be deep-seated trust issues. Like they just can't trust that you're not giving them bad information.
Well, it's foreign to them because they've never experienced something like that. And I think sometimes it requires letting go of something inside, to being open.
So Chase Hughes had said, knowing is the enemy of learning. So when you know something, you're never going to learn something. Because you know it, right? So no new information can get in there.
Yes.
So a lot of times when I think about, spreading joy, or we're going to be out at a million barbecues, we're going to be out hopefully this summer, out enjoying things and everything else. Try to see if you can be more curious in talking to people and hearing what they have to say and why they have to say it.
I never want to be the smartest person in the room. Never.
Right.
And so what I've learned, what I've been doing is like when I want to give advice. So our future son-in-law is learning how to play golf. I used an example, and it's actually something that I did try to do. But the way I said it was, I've noticed he was putting, and I noticed how he was putting, and he's tapping at the ball. And I just said, but because I used to tap at the ball, and I said, where I improved my game, because he was like, he watched me sink in. He's like, how did you do that? I said, what I learned was, I'm like, this is a perfect opportunity. I'm going to give him a little lesson, and so maybe it's wrong on me, but I feel like the way that I said it was very gentle. You can either pick it up or put it down. Because he asked me about my putt. He's like, how did you do that? He's like, I've watched you do it for the last 4 holes. I said, so what I've been learning to do is I find my line. So you see the flag. I find my line by standing behind the ball. I find where I think the reed of the green. I will find like a little piece of a pine needle, or I'll find like a little white spot in the grass to make that line. And then I line the hole of my putter up with that, not the ball. The ball just gets in the way, and I push through the ball. So my putts have been a lot smoother. So instead of just tapping it, I'm actually just moving my club, and the ball happens to get in the way. And I said, so that's what I've been doing. And I said, I've been watching my putts. Like that happened. And then I just left it at that. And then so a couple holes later, he sunk a great putt, and he said, just move through the ball. And I was like,
yeah. And I do think that when we're talking about stealing joy and spreading joy, we're trying to be a better influence out in the world. We're trying to be somebody you would want to talk to.
Yes.
We don't want you to get in your car and drive to another place when you see us.
Yes.
Or, oh, Jesus, we're busy. Get on the phone. Pretend to be on the phone.
Speaking of which, the rain is clearing up. Tonight we are going to be in Portsmouth at Baubles and Lace from 5 to 8. It's right on Main Street. I don't have the exact address. You cannot miss it. You can Google it. We're going to have some champagne. We're going to have some snacks. We're going to try on some clothes. We might do a little fashion show. It's going to be fun. There's jewelry, scarves, purses, shoes. Champagne, fun, some music. So 5 to 8, Baubles and Lace. You should come out, say hi. Even if you can buy for your significant other, girlfriend, daughter, whoever. Guys and girls are welcome.
Yes, and it's going to be a lot of fun. And I hope the weather holds, because it has stopped raining, and I don't like lugging stuff around in the rain.
Right.
There's lots of great restaurants out there if you want to eat beforehand. We'll have like little snacks, but
yes,
but we don't want to have too much food next to.
And
clothing.
I'm sure there's got to be like happy hour, like a Thursday night. It's like it's pre-Friday.
Yes, and so no purchases required, but it is really cool to have someone style you.
Yes. So it's just a fun experience.
It's just fun. It's just a lot of fun. So no purchase required, but it's hard not to purchase stuff there. They have really cute stuff. The dress I'm wearing right now is from Baubles and Lace. And I'm going to wear the shoes later. That I can't march around in heels right now because I'm going to go do a showing after this. But yeah, so that'll be a really, really good time. And getting back to, wanting your life to have more joy requires something of you.
Yes.
But then when you get yourself into that space, how do you protect yourself so that someone in a bad mood can't come through like a cyclone and just throw the couch and the cow and take the roof off the house? How do you, because I find I'm emotionally susceptible to colds.
Yes.
So I don't need to be in a bad mood, but if you're in a bad mood long enough near me, I'll absorb your bad mood.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to learn that is yours. That is not mine to hold or carry.
Yes.
But it's hard in the moment.
Yes.
So how do you protect your happiness?
Sometimes I think for what I do, definitely I have to go outside.
Yeah.
Movement. I think movement and just being able to I'm trying to pause before I respond because I have some really good comebacks. I did share one with you yesterday.
Yeah, you did.
I'm probably going to use that one again.
Yes. First opportunity.
But it's also the way my mind processes it. It's because I felt rejection. And so the way I sting back is like, wait,
Yeah. I'll reject you first.
look at you. Wait,
Yeah.
you're judging me? Here, let me show you what I could judge you on.
Yeah.
That's how my brain processes it. So if I
And
can
that's a
keep it
defensive
in,
mood.
yes,
That's you just attacked me. I'm going to defend myself with a jab back.
yes. And so I don't say it right away. I just, and actually, it was
In my head, and I'll text
Yes.
it to you later.
in my head. Yes,
And I'll text you
I did. I wrote it down in my notes.
because this one's good for later when you least expect it.
Zinger!
Your thing. Yeah.
Drop the bomb.
I think giving people the benefit of the doubt, because the first thing I always hear is the attack.
Yes.
I hate to be criticized.
Well, so like when people are going to give me advice on my golf swing, like it does irritate me. What I've tried to do is like, okay, there's a few times that I've said it, and I think it's hard because more that I'm aware of it, I'm like, why can't you be aware of it? Like that's why I'm like, why can't you be aware of how much advice you give? Because you don't like. There's a lot of people that don't like the advice back.
Oh, you can't give them any kind of advice.
Or in the timing of it, and it's like, well, I know better. And I know that we try to give advice and because we want to help somebody, we want to save them from the suffering or the pain, but sometimes it's theirs. It's
Mhm.
theirs to experience. Maybe that's their own lesson.
Yeah, but if you've got to try to understand if someone's in a great mood and then you've happened to them and now they're in a terrible mood. You don't want to be multiplying that out in the world. So, and also to be on the receiving end, I was just in a great mood and you came in here and wow, I am all riled up. I'm like the cat with my fur rubbed
Yeah.
the wrong direction.
Yeah.
All my claws are out. Okay, how do I get back to?
Well, I think because
And
I
I
think
think-
it happens because you're open. In being that way requires you to be open. So
And I
it's
do
learning
think-
to protect our boundaries.
Because people always told me I had thin skin,
Yeah.
but I'm a sensitive person.
Yes.
So, and then, so you're volleying your critiques at me and I'm sensitive. So I'm taking them to heart.
Yes.
I am holding them.
And I think that's why sometimes my comebacks can be biting
Yes.
because I'm very open.
Yes.
In order for me to be the light, love, and energy that I want to be in, I have to be in an environment that supports that. So some negative or ugly criticism, it's kind of being blindsided. And I'm learning to be better about not responding in my blind side.
Or if you know someone's sensitive and you're like, God, they're so sensitive, you don't have to use the harshest language. You don't have to use the heaviest hand.
Yeah.
So if your kid is saying, God, you're always criticizing me, God, and you're like, no, I'm not. I'm just trying to see if there's a different language.
Right.
Because maybe you don't have to be, you're such a loser.
Right.
Because they're like, I'm a loser. I need some other input in there.
Oh, gosh, to simplify it, constructive criticism. Constructive criticism. Because the truth of the matter is when I'm sharing your opinion and you're telling me how I should do it better, I'm not going to be an air traffic controller. How about saying it in a constructive way or saying it in a way of, wow, Lisa, that's a big goal. That's a really
Right.
big goal.
How are
That
you
is
gonna
a
do
very,
that?
how are you going to do that? Or you know what? Let's look and see what that looks like. Let's explore that instead of, putting our fears on. If we all stop and ask, what fears am I bringing to the relationship? So see, like going back to that whole alcohol, the gambling
Mhm.
thing and
Mhm.
being like, okay, so this person has made all these changes, but yet I'm not happier. And I've said it for 5 years, 10 years. If you stop drinking, then I will be a happier person. Well, that person stops drinking and you're not happier. So guess what? It's you.
Yeah.
You are the problem. And we don't want to. And I think that we start being judgmental and critical of people because it makes us uncomfortable.
And it also, if the more I criticize you, the less I have to look at myself.
Well, I think that's more of what I think is more it's shining. The light is shining back to saying, "Hey, wait, I put all my eggs in this basket, and now it happened. This person is not drinking anymore, but now I'm still miserable. I'm still unhappy, and so now that I'm not, I've got to control and monitor, and I've got to micromanage to make sure that it doesn't happen again." all of those things are indicators that it's resistance, that there's something in you that needs to be healed. It's not them, and you are putting it on them.
And that's where codependency is at its core. I can only be happy if you.
But how cool would that be if we actually be like, what am I actually bringing to the relationship?
Right. Or since I can't control other people, let me try to control my reaction to it. Let me control not being so upset by the fact that you flick on the TV every time you walk in the room when I was just peaceful. Or
let go and being like, you know what? I don't live with an addict anymore. I don't. That person is in the past. That's gone. Don't bring her to today. Don't bring him to today.
Yep.
It doesn't have any space anymore from this. You're in a, especially if you're in a loving environment that somebody's trying to please you, stop trying to take the light out of somebody's eyes. Try to be the one to put light in somebody's eyes.
Yes.
So that's basically the way to do it. Like by you doing that, guess what? You have joy in your body, because I don't think that you can give joy if you don't have it.
Right. And how can you give something away if you don't have it?
Right. So that's why, I think that we're all connected.
We are.
So joy starts first.
Yes. Joy is going to be tonight between 5 and 8.
Yes.
Baubles and Lace.
Portsmouth,
New Hampshire. And this is the first one we're doing. We hope we get to do a little bit more of them.
Yeah. Yes.
Do some fun things.
We'll hit up some Manchester folks.
Yeah. Thank you. And Nashua folks. Thank you for tuning in with us on this Thursday. You are listening to Lisa and Robin on the mic on WSMN 1590 AM, 95.3 FM. You can always watch, stream, and listen on WSMN.live as well as YouTube Live. We are up all the time on Spotify. Have a fabulous week and go spread some joy.
Whoop, whoop. Whoop, whoop.
WSMN 1590. WSMN 95.3 FM Nashua. Listen, watch, and stream at WSMN.live.
ABC News, I'm Sherry Preston. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky in Turkey for talks about ending the war. A Russian delegation is also there, but notably absent Russian President Vladimir Putin. ABC's Ian Pannell has more from Istanbul.
These particular peace talks were the idea of one Vladimir Vladimirovich Putin. This was his idea, floated in an address to the nation early on Sunday morning. But there was always a question about how serious Russia was about these talks.
President Trump in the UAE telling reporters Putin wouldn't show up unless Trump was there. The president says the U.S. and Iran have, in his words, sort of agreed to the terms of a nuclear deal. The president, however, also saying military action against Iran's nuclear facilities remains a possibility if talks derail. At the Supreme Court, arguments on whether lower courts have the authority to block President Trump's order ending birthright citizenship, the law that says anybody born in the U.S. is automatically a U.S. citizen. This is ABC News.
Are you living with dry AMD? If so, you could be on the road to geographic atrophy, or GA, a condition that leads to retinal cell death and permanent vision loss. But with Izervay, you can
slow it down and get it going slower.
Izervay slows GA progression by targeting a key source of retinal cell death, which may help preserve your vision longer. Izervay, or Avastin Captid Pagel, is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Visit Izervay.com. That's IZERVAY.com. Paid for by Astellas Pharma.
Hi, I'm John Jursic, president of St. Joseph Hospital. At St. Joe's, we're committed to providing exceptional care with a personal touch, because healthcare should be about people, not just procedures. Whether you need a trusted primary care provider, advanced surgical care, or community wellness programs, we are here for you. As a proud sponsor of the United Way, we invite you to learn more about our mission of compassionate care at stjosephhospital.com.
Feeling lucky, Nashua? It's time to win big. Here at Nashua Bingo, our local hotspot for thrills, chills, great food, and jackpots. Dive into high-stakes bingo action every night with huge payouts and electric energy that keeps the good times rolling. Craving more? Hit up our one-armed bandits. From spinning reels to flashing lights, the excitement never stops. And don't forget your Lucky 7 tickets with large bonuses. Just ask Chantel, who won $20,000, or Mary, who just won $25,000 on our tickets. Nashua, this is your sign. Grab your crew, grab your dabbers, and check out Nashua Bingo, easily located at Exit 2 in Nashua, next to Town Fair Tire. Nashua Bingo, where Nashua wins.
Summer? Already? Well, with the warm weather comes more opportunities for music and fun. Hi, my name is Cody Switzer, and I am from the Nashua Community Music School, the official summer music camp of Nashua. Let your little camper explore music from Africa and Latin America. Make your Broadway debut and have an instrumental adventure. Want to learn more? Visit our website, nashuacms.org, or give us a call at 603-881-7030. Don't wait, spots are filling fast.
This is Ben Biskovich, owner of Heal Strong for Life, concierge physical therapy and personal training, here with your healthy moment. One of the first questions I ask my new clients is, do you know what you need to do to get healthy, or you just have a hard time doing it? It is not too late to rewire